We're here with Chris Naprawa, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, of Khiron Life Sciences Corp. They trade on the TSX Venture under the ticker KHRN. Hello, Chris.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Great. Now, let's start with the big news release of the day. Chiron just announced that former Mexican president Vicente Fox was added to the board of directors. Now, how the heck did a $50 million market cap company pull that off?
Well, I think when you talk about Chiron, and if you're surprised by our appointment today, get used to being surprised more often. Mr. Fox has been a massive advocate for medical cannabis. He believes in helping people and giving the highest quality of life possible. Our business is very much focused on becoming the dominant player in medical cannabis in Latin America. And I think Mr. Fox saw that. We met at a conference that we co-sponsored. A relationship built very, very quickly after that, and he saw what we saw. He loves the people that are involved. We've got just an absolutely world-class staff, and don't be fooled by the market cap of the caliber of the people and the quality of our business plan. And Mr. Fox certainly saw that. And as you know, before being president of Mexico, he's president of Coca-Cola LATAM. He certainly has contacts all around the world. He is a very recognizable brand, and I think he's an obvious value add for our business.
Okay, is there any indication why he chose to join the board of directors at Chiron as opposed to taking some other opportunities? Now, he may be on the board of directors elsewhere as well. That doesn't preclude that, but what do you know what in particular attracted him to the Chiron story?
Well, clearly he's very smart and insightful. So, listen, we've put together an incredible team that is focused on the unmet medical needs of 620 million people in Latin America. That is a big job. And to be able to do that job, we need outstanding people. And bringing Mr. Fox on board to our board, I think, is further evidence that we're able to acquire these people, that we're able to figure out ways to work together and attack this massive opportunity as a team.
Okay, does that mean now that Vicente Fox is on board that Chiron is part of the Never Trump Club, or how do those politics work out?
I think we're part of the club of helping Chiron become the dominant player in Latin America in medical cannabis. That's what we're all in the same team for, and personal politics aside, everyone has a different view, but we are focused on that number one thing, which is that patient. And all the evidence is so overwhelming on how people can be helped. The biggest indication that we're attacking is chronic pain. 30% of adults, whether you're in North America or South America, 30% of adults have some period of chronic pain in their life. Cannabis in different formulations has been overwhelmingly proven to help with that, and it's an alternative to the opioid program. It's an alternative to other forms of medication. It's non-invasive, it's natural, and it's something that people need access to. And so, with our home base in Colombia, where it's federally regulated on the medical side, much like it is here at home, we're hoping that same sort of regulation comes to Mexico. I was just down in Mexico City. It's a city of 35 million people, and why not focus on the largest markets when you're going to these kind of businesses? Okay.
Now, the thing that struck me with the Fox board director appointee, as a board director appointee, is that this isn't the first high-level person that you've managed to procure on your company's under your company's directorship. Of course, you have Mr. Matt Murphy, who was the former Chief of Pharmaceutical Investigations for the Drug Enforcement Administration. So again, it seems that the quality of personnel that you're bringing on this company is sort of unparalleled for a company your size. Now, is that an attractive value proposition to investors than having these high-level people in all the right places?
Our business, like every other business, is a people business. If you're going to build something substantial, you need a really solid foundation, and that foundation is an incredible core of people. And Matt Murphy's an example of that. Matt is passionate about our business and medical cannabis. Even though we're a very small company, our compliance and security has been set up to a US DEA standard. We could go into the consulting business just on that part of our business alone. And Matt's an incredible hire. And if we went through our slide deck and looked at all of our executives and our management team right across the board, we could talk about each and every one of them brings an incredible skill set. And if you look back to the medical cannabis business here in Canada and the 130 so public companies that spawned out of that, you know, if you could do it all over again, wouldn't you do it in a place with a much, much larger market, with much less competition, in a climate that is much more conducive to growing this medicine? So we have, once in a while in life and in investing, you get a chance to have a second chance at things. And we've got a second chance at the medical cannabis market here in Latin America, and it's a much, much bigger opportunity than the domestic one that we saw several years ago.
Terrific. Now, speaking of that opportunity, I believe Colombia has, 6 million medical patients just on its own. So expanding that out to the rest of South America and the continental Latin America, how big is this opportunity really? I know investors know it's obviously really large, but is it even scratching the surface based on what Chiron can do and to exploit that opportunity? How do you view it?
Yeah, so we spent a lot of money and a lot of time making sure that we understood our primary market being Colombia. We hired an outside consulting group, we did extensive studies, and we looked at the population base. So if you look at the population base of Colombia of over 50 million people, then take the number of people that are diagnosed with the indications that we care most about, and then look again at the people that are actually being treated for that. It comes out around 6 million people as our potential market. So it really is very much focused on the patient and trying to figure out who that patient is and how we can bring them on board as a patient. So it starts with the medical associations. Doctors won't prescribe what their association doesn't endorse. So we've got endorsements from all kinds of medical associations in Colombia, too many to list here today. We've got now over 3,000 physicians that have gone through our education program or continuing to go through our education program. Of those doctors, that represents some 500,000 potential patients for us. And of course, we're not going to get all of those patients on day one, but still very, very early days for us. And we're executing a program that is understandable for the doctors and repeatable in other jurisdictions beyond Colombia.
Okay, now speaking of all those partnerships that you're fomenting in Colombia and abroad in South America, how does the company plan to insulate themselves with other sort of bigger players and bigger LPs coming into the market at some point? You may have seen Aphria's announcement today, in which they're acquiring a bunch of assets in different Latin American countries. Mm-hmm. Now, how does Chiron plan on insulating themselves and protecting their market share when some of the other big players come in?
Well, I think first of all, it's always good to play from a lead, and right now we do have a massive advantage compared to others in the marketplace. We're a company of firsts, and you can check the box on many things that we've been first for licensing and cultivation, and we're the first non-resource company out of Colombia to list in Canada, and that's no small feat either. I think how do we protect ourselves and how do we prosper? We prosper on execution. And I sit up here in Toronto, and it's an easy story for me to tell, but there's 50 people down in Colombia that are executing every single day, and not only protecting our league, but enhancing it. Okay, sounds great. In terms of your medical grow operation, I understand it's pretty big down there, or will be. Can you describe how many how many kilograms you'll be pumping out annualized once that gets operational, if it isn't already? Yeah, so when it comes to the cultivation of the plant and making of the medicine, I'm happy to talk about that, but really what we're focused here on is the patient, and our long-term goal is to get to about 1 million patients. We have access to enough land, enough infrastructure to be able to cultivate that on our own. And I'll talk a little bit more broadly on why Colombia. If you had to pick the perfect place, you would go to Colombia. There's a reason why we don't grow bananas and coffee in warehouses in Mississauga. It doesn't make any sense. In Colombia, you have 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime, perfect temperature, 365 days a year. It's perfect for cultivation of many kinds of plants, including cannabis. So the costs are very, very low, and we can debate whether they're 5 cents or 10 cents or 15 cents. It's much, much lower. And so our trick is not to battle the cost curve. Our trick is to make sure that the consistency is there, that medicine is the same every single time, over and over and over again. But as far as expanding our cultivation, that race has been proven already that Colombia is absolutely the ideal place to be cultivating cannabis.
And the outdoor cultivation of cannabis, does that lend itself well for consistent medical grades of CBD or THC, whatever condition?
Well, we're not outdoor. We're in a greenhouse. So
you're in a greenhouse.
Yeah, we're in a protected GMP environment. Everything is to GMP standards. It's a very controlled environment. It's just much less costly when you're not battling the outside elements like we do up here in Canada.
Excellent. Well, we're going to leave it here, Chris. Thank you for joining the show.
Thank you.